Point 1 brings us yet another 3 potential awakens for Nekomata, Rina and Jane, but as per usual, not all of them are of equal value and some of them might just plain out suck. Given our income of daily performance points is time limited, if you only care about getting the best for your buck, you might want to make sure to get the best potentials first. So today, let's talk about the new buffs for Neko, Rina and Jane, what the buffs for each agent are, and most importantly, which unit's potential is the best to invest into. Let's begin with a quick look at all of the buffs for a quick overview. If you're interested in knowing more about the respective agents and how these buffs change their weapons and builds, you will find a link to all of my updated guides to Neko, Rina and Jane in the description. Let's begin with Nekomata. Her Awakening 1 grants her a new unique resource that slowly generates over time, and her Chain Attack, Ultimate and EX Special generate this resource as well. With enough of her resource, Neko is then able to use a new dodge counter that we can simply cast by holding down her basic attack. Both of her core and additional ability have been fully reworked as well. Her core skill now grants her an effectively permanent 60% damage bonus, and using her new dodge counter will grant her a state during which all of her attacks are now considered back attacks, and all of her skills will deal additional damage upon hit as well. Her additional ability can now actually be useful, and after using her new dodge, she gains a 35% damage bonus for her EX and dodge counter for 30 seconds, stacking up to twice. Lastly, her basic 5 and health basic have been touched upon as well, and it is now less RNG reliant, simply hitting thrice by default if they hit a stunned enemy. If you want to know more about Nekomata and her buffs, check out my updated Nekomata guide, again link is in the description. Going from Neko's Awakening 2 all the way to Awakening 6 will then grant her an additional 60% crit damage, resulting in a non-negligible 18% damage gain compared to A1. Overall, Neko's buffs are absolutely massive, and she is now a very capable physical attacker. Jane's Awakening 1 is not very impactful, and neither are her A2 to A6, but more on that in a bit. First up, her basic 6 and EX specials now count as dash attacks, and a Salsa Jump has been touched upon as well, now making her invulnerable during it, as well as being able to trigger a perfect dodge. Secondly, if you listened and watched carefully, I said EX specials, implying she has 2, which she has. She gained access to a second EX special, which is only available while in the passion state, but it is also not all too different compared to her regular EX. That also already covers all of her kit changes. Effectively, with her EX specials and basic 6 now counting as dash attack, she has a much easier time maintaining her signature weapon during and arguably even out of stun windows, making it a better choice now for casual players, as you simply have to think less compared to before. But otherwise, there are not many changes to how she plays, and her damage has not been buffed directly either. So what about her Awakening 2 to 6? Well, let me read it to you verbatim. When Jane triggers Assault, her crit damage is additionally increased by 30%. This, in theory, reads really nicely. It means that Jane's assaults now crit for a massive 180% instead of 150%. So it must be good, right? Well, no. In fact, going from her A2 to A6 is a measly increase of 5%, and arguably this increase goes down to as low as 3% when played with Remielle instead of Yuzua. The reasons for that are honestly pretty simple. Only assaults triggered by Jane herself gain this bonus, because the triggerer for Vortex is always the windswept owner, so currently Velina. Velina is the one who triggers the Assault Vortex, and hence the Assault Vortexes do not profit of this. Additionally, Remielle's Luminis are not classified as Assault, and hence they cannot crit at all in the first place, not gaining anything from this. And lastly, if you play Jane with Alice in a mono-physical team, none of Alice's assaults are gonna get this bonus either. This makes Jane's Awakening potentials one of the worst we have seen so far. Frankly, I don't think she really needed any in the first place, and I think she is in a pretty good spot regardless. The Awakenings do help any team that isn't with Velina or Remielle in the end. She also still has one of the best early mindscapes in the game after all, and her signature, well, it is freely obtainable and the damage gain from it is rather impressive. Go and check out my updated Jane guide for more info on that, because you will be surprised by how much you actually gain from her weapon. Lastly, for our new buffs at least, Rina. Rina is now approximately as good as M0 Astra, possibly being better with higher weapon refinements on Weeping Cradle. Her changes are rather concise, however, even if very effective. Upon casting her EX special, chain or ultimate, Rina will enter a stage for 13 seconds, during which her 2 bamboo puppets will attack the enemy once every 2.5 seconds and gain 1 stack each time they do. Upon reaching 6 stacks, the next basic is then replaced with an enhanced version, consuming all stacks. Most of her animations have also been sped up as well, but unfortunately she still features her rather lackluster evasive assist and assist follow-up. And that also are already all the changes to her kit, so basically she gained a basic. So how can it be that Rina is now actually good? Pretty simple. First up, going from her A2 to A6 will now provide her with a massive 1.6% rend ratio. Funnily, this really is just to make her cap out at 72% instead of the current 70.4%, allowing her to actually maximize her buffs. And one of them is now providing 576 flat combat attack and 468 flat combat defense to the team. Furthermore, her minions will also attack now while being on field, and they do so every 2.5 seconds, allowing her to maintain her signature weapon rather well while she is in her new state. This makes Rina a now rather competent support for all kind of attacker or anomaly teams. However, because her minions stop attacking after her state runs out, she cannot maintain Weeping Cradle permanently. We just do not have the energy for that. But hey, at least we have an indicator for that now, well, for the state that is, not for the puppets on the field. And having all that said, and knowing what each unit's buffs and awakenings actually do, we can now finally talk about which awakenings are the best to invest into. As for the Awakening 1, I would agree it is worth unlocking those for all of them, as they are just all free damage and also a quality of life change for the respective unit. So instead, let's have a look at their A2 to A6, and we begin with Jane. Jane's best teams are with Remielle and Velena, or also with Alice for a monophysical team, and all 3 of them will not gain much from her Awakening 2 to 6. This means, while her awakenings are better in worse teams, so for example when playing Jane with Vivian and Yuzua, they do not really do much for her best teams. Hence, I would recommend on unlocking Jane's awakenings last. Both Rina's and Neko's potentials are absolutely something you should unlock, however, as they both get more than viable with them, being able to compete with other supports or attackers respectively. Which one you want to unlock first will heavily depend on who you like or, well, frankly need more. Personally, I will unlock Neko first because collection, but most of you probably have Ye Shongguang, and in that case, unless you really like the barcode cat, Rina is probably the better choice. And with that, we are at the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this video has been helpful to you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment on your thoughts on the new buffs all of these units received, and of course join the Discord. A special thanks goes out to my YouTube and Patreon members who make this content possible. If you wish to support me as well, you will find a link to my Patreon in the description, or simply click the join button right below this video. And as always, I appreciate all of you and wish you a great day. Peace!